Well, once again, the Toledo Rockets seemingly find themselves at a crossroads. And when we need directions, when we need to find out where to go for the crossroads, we go to somebody from Cleveland. Somebody who was a fan of Bone Thugs and Harmony. We bring in Mike Robinson, the sideline reporter for the Rocket Radio Network. And Mike, Rob, a couple of weeks ago when the Rockets were at a crossroads, they went on the road to Muncie, picked up a big win against Ball State. Now they're at a crossroads and they're heading back on the road to take on Central Michigan at Mount Pleasant. How much of a setback was the loss to Northern Illinois?
You know, it was huge. You know, it was one of the best days in Toledo football history. You had so many legends in the house, you know, from Coach Pinkel back in town, you know, about 5 or 6 of the best teams that Toledo's ever seen. Chuck Ely's here. You know, he's always here. He's got residency at the Glass Bowl. But you know what? It was a big loss for this football team, not just because of that, because of what happened on the football field. You know, they struggled on offense to get any rhythm, anything going, you know, and just not making the big plays and not having possession of the football. First half, they had 18 minutes to 5 minutes, where the Rockets only had 5 minutes to make plays. So when you don't have many possessions, it's hard to make plays.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting statistic that Jason Candle pointed out, that the Rockets are #1 in the conference in yards per play, but they're dead last in number of plays. They've got this quick strike offense that's making it very difficult to get any type of rhythm going. And when you have the dual quarterback situation, I think that exasperates that issue.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when you're getting off the field almost every time on third down, I believe it was 1 for 10 on third down versus Northern Illinois. It's hard to extend drives. It is hard to get a rhythm. So you got to worry about, you know, is it the players or is it the play calling? You know, you got to find a way to find that balance. And right now the balance seems to be at best when you have, you know, Carter Bradley sitting on the bench, to be honest. You know, when you got Daquan Finn in the football game, things seems to open up. Big plays, these splash plays. Last week they had 7 splash plays, 7 or 5, excuse me. You know, splash plays that they hadn't had since Notre Dame when they had 9 of those. And those are plays that's over 20 yards. So when they get those plays, the offense gets going. But sometimes, you know, it just finds a rut in the offense when, you know, they don't get running the football.
And as much as we want to talk about the Rocket woes, the fact of the matter is Northern Illinois is a good defensive team. It's basically the same game plan they used to knock off Georgia Tech a couple weeks ago. So let's give some credit to Northern Illinois for coming into the Glass Bowl and doing what they wanted to do and getting the victory.
Absolutely, and we talked about it last week. You know, this has been a thorn in the Toledo Rockets side since the turn of the century, right? You know, and this is a football team that comes and play football tough. You know, I saw out there they're talking about, hey, this is our second home, because they've come out here and actually dominated the Rockets over the past few trips here at the Glass Bowl. So this is a tough place for them. Actually, it's almost another home game for them, they feel like, when they come to the Glass Bowl, and Toledo goes out there and beat on them at times. So the Rockets got to find a way to do something with that football team, but they do an excellent job of getting their rhythm going. They've done a lot of things to just, you know, manicure their offense to their likings, where they're trying to throw the ball to the outside, running big sweeps with the big tackles and guards pulling to the outside. It's a young football team. Their offensive line has primarily juniors and sophomores, so when they get going, it's tough. And the Rockets defense stood tall for the most part, which is a few bad breaks and a lot of field goals by their kicker.
You hate to bring up officiating, but that's what a lot of fans are going to point to, particularly on that final drive, that go-ahead drive for Northern Illinois. Some iffy pass interference calls, and, you know, penalties have been an issue for the Rockets this year. I think they've gotten that cleaned up a little bit, but when you've got so many iffy calls, it almost felt as if you were playing the Rockets against the officials and against the Huskies.
You know, they're playing against the Huskies, the officials, and themselves, because a lot of these penalties are self-inflicted as well. You know, and some of the penalties are kind of phantom. You know, we talked about the jump on the Powell whistle, you know, towards the end of the game, and the horrible call on interception now. That was an interception right there by Womack, and that should have ended the game right there, and then they had an opportunity to come back. But, you know, the resiliency of that football team, again, like you said, you got to give them credit. But the Rockets, they got to find a way to stop getting so many penalties as well, because in the first half, they've stopped their drive several times to having big holding calls and had a touchdown taken off the board because of it.
Mid-American Conference home teams just 2-4 last week, and that's been a trend this year in the MAC. So I guess the good news is Toledo's going on the road. They have played much better away from the Glass Bowl as they head up to Mount Pleasant to take on a Central Michigan team that Jason Candle's impressed with the physicality of the Chippewas, and there's a lot of talent on Central Michigan.
Yeah, absolutely. You take a look at the tape from last year, and what they did was get Pimpleton, their star wide receiver, and they moved him at quarterback spot on the first drive of the game. And they went wildcat with him all the way down, and even threw a touchdown pass. He's got a history of doing that at high school as a quarterback. So you got these athletes out here, and you always wonder what kind of game plan is Central Michigan going to come out of here. 2 years removed from their MAC championship championship and a big run in that football program. Last year was kind of a little bit Debbie Downer for them. So this year, the Rockets can't look past this football team and the things that they can do. They have a quarterback that has been having a standout season, and their record right now is they lose a game, they win a game, they lose a game, they win a game, and right now they're due for another loss, and that's what the Rockets got to come here to do. And the thing is, we talked about it a few weeks ago, Mark, is when they're away on that road, they get to stay together, they get to be together. I got to be a part of that trip with UMass. The team just felt so locked in, and you saw what happened, 45-7. And I think that's the difference here this year, and that's why you talked about it. The road teams get that advantage, and right now I think the Rockets are going to have a nice opportunity here up in Mount Pleasant.
We'll find out Saturday afternoon if it will be a pleasant trip to Central Michigan. Mike Robinson from the Rocket Radio Network, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.